This is a part of the Pod Save guys.
Crooked Media.
And they have a show called Offline, I guess. And it's hosted by, was it?
Favreau.
John Favreau and Max Fisher. And they are going over the Jubilee thing. And what very well may be the last time that we talk about my Jubilee appearance in the Surrounded. And they bring up a good point on this. But I want to, let's play it. They're talking about when, I had the Jubilee people let me make my contentions. And one of the contentions was, and I may be paraphrasing it because I don't remember exactly, was that unless you are a billionaire or a religious fundamentalist or theocrat or a white nationalist, you made a mistake in voting for Donald Trump. And I guess the other way to phrase that is like, the only people who are really benefiting from the Trump administration are going to be white nationalists, billionaires, and theocrats. And what happened was the people who sat down to argue that contention did not argue that contention. They basically said, no, I'm a white nationalist or I'm a theocrat, and I think that's a good thing, and want to justify it. And I have said, I wasn't necessarily prepared for that response because I didn't realize that people would be so.
You thought it'd make people defensive.
I didn't realize that people would be like, I'm a xenophobe and I'm proud about it. Like literally, that's what she said.
Also, I'm from Canada. But
and anyway. Also, I'm from Canada. But be that as may, but this is their take on it.
He did say, like when he was talking with the woman who said, what's wrong with xenophobic nationalism? He's like, and some views are so out there that I was like, I would just rather, I think that most of the country agrees with me and not her. So I'm not going to go into them. Right. My only thought about that was, not that I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment, but I was like, I actually think that we are, and this is one of the reasons why I liked the video and liked the whole exercise, is we are in a moment now where I think you do have to make the case for multiracial democracy.
I agree 100%.
And I think when we've had this whole debate about we can't make the election about democracy because people care about, the cost of living and stuff like that. I think one of the problems there is that debate was us saying democracy's obviously good and trying to convince people that the other side hates democracy. Yep. And we actually have to make the case for why democracy is good. Mm-hmm. And that could work better because it's not using the word democracy. Right. But we have to make a case for the system. We have to make a case for a multiracial country. Right. We have to make the case for all of these things because we think that they're basic. They're not. But like from that 20 Trump supporters who were younger, diverse, diverse in terms of gender identity, sexual orientation, race, gender. Like, I do think that Democrats or folks on the left or whoever you want to call us, like we have to get back to basics and trying to make the case for our worldview, even the parts of our worldview that we assume most people agree with. And maybe most people do agree with, but clearly we are seeing a younger generation now. Right. And you can see this again in the voting data, Gen Z.
I think this point is half correct. And I think it's very close. And I think it's also indicative, though, of what has been problematic with the Democratic Party. Now, I happen to think that the idea of there are more people out there who do want a multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy. They may not know that's the word for it. But I also do think that it is insufficient to say the word democracy. And that the problem was not that Democrats were deploying the word democracy and just assuming that people appreciated it. It is that, and this is where I think they're wrong here. they perceive the pitch about democracy and the pitch about, I think he said, I don't know how he referred to it.
Multiracial.
No, but the pitch about democracy and like the economy as being distinct entities. But I think that in the voters' minds, and that in people's minds, the problem with democracy, multiracial or whatever, is not because they don't understand, like, oh, if you understand how people, the value of a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy is that it supposedly provides material benefit to the widest amount of people. There is no other point to a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy if it does not provide material benefits to the widest amount of people possible. The reason why you have democracy is ultimately to have the least amount of disparity in political power and in economic power. That's it. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. And the problem with making that case is that they made a case in the Harris campaign to just simply say the word democracy. And the way that people associate the word democracy, multiracial, multi-ethnic, whatever, is, oh, you mean where there's this enormous wealth disparity? You mean where we get screwed and a certain group of people don't? That's the way it hits people. And the hard part about making the argument as to why a multi-ethnic democracy, multiracial democracy is good, the hard part about making that argument is if you don't have the ability to deliver on what it delivers. Because it's not, people don't care about some platonic idea of like, I live in a democracy. That's great.
It wasn't a sacrifice when they signed up for the democracy. It was, like you said, a way to further themselves materially.
We can see it. I mean, it's, this is why I harp on Reconstruction. Because what did they do and where did they fail in Reconstruction in an attempt to create a multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy? When you had these freedmen and all of these ex-slaves, we need to provide education, right? We need to provide money. And that's where the failure came in many ways. You had the Freedmen's Bank, but it wasn't sufficient. But you need to provide economic power. And at that time, you also needed to provide actually like military power to protect people. In this instance, we're not there yet. We haven't regressed that far. But we have such an economic disparity that the concept in and of itself of a multi-ethnic or multiracial democracy, if it does not deliver the fundamental premise of that, which is a wide dispersion and redistribution of resources, political and economic, to as many people as possible within society, there's no value in it. It's a hollow shell. And so, like, in the course of making that argument, it doesn't, the argument itself, you need to pair that with, instead of like, this is a show me versus tell me situation. This is the thing, like, whenever you're like writing a script or anything like that, it's show me versus tell me. It's also this, any type of writing. If you say multi-ethnic, multiracial democracy, that is a tell me. But if you deliver whatever it is, single payer healthcare, the ability for a free higher education, secure and affordable housing, et cetera, That is the show me of a multiracial democracy. That's the important part. You don't get a merit badge because you live in, and that's, in fact, that's been why you're seeing this sort of wrapping their arms around a theocracy or a white nationalism is all about. That's why their white nationalism also comes hand in hand with material promises. And the question is like, how do you provide those material benefits to as many people as possible without it being concentrated in the hands of an elite? And that is multiracial democracy. But that's the sequencing. You got to offer the material benefits of this thing because nobody cares about the imprimatur. There is no plate. When you die, you don't get like, God's not sitting there going, well, you multiracial ethnic democracy, you get to go in. That doesn't happen. It has to come like, where's the beef? And that's the thing I think that has been fundamentally misunderstood by the well-intentioned parts of that world.
Yeah, you can't just insist upon it.
It doesn't mean anything. If you're going to sell what a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy is, what you're selling is material benefits for people, despite the fact that we have this massive wealth disparity. And as a way of dealing with this massive wealth disparity. And then, that's all you need to start with. And you can drill down as technocratic as our Social Security tax touches 6, 7, 8% less of the nation's income than it did 30, 40 years ago. Or you can go on to housing's out of reach. Or, we have $1 trillion worth of student debt. I mean, all of these things must be aggressively and not just as a campaign rhetoric. There needs to be legislation. There needs to be doing these things. Now, obviously, we can't do that right now. And it's a reason why I think you see Sanders and AOC stuff resonate more, because they are out there, and they make no doubt about it. I think Sanders is out there, and his number one thing is we're going to lose the democracy that we have, as insufficient as it is. But I don't think that's what he's going out there selling. He's going out there selling material benefits for people. And that's the value of a democracy, that it provides material benefits for the greatest amount of people. Now, there are other systems where arguably it could provide even more. But that's why we have a democracy, as opposed to the system we left behind, which is oligarchic. And the problem with an oligarchic system is that wealth and material benefits are concentrated in fewer hands. That's it. There's no mystery here. It's just a hard argument to make on behalf of at least the people they're advocating for, Democrats, largely because too often they go astray from that. Kamala Harris had the opportunity to do it. And then all of a sudden, Mark Cuban came in, and her brother-in-law from Uber came in and was like, man, I don't think so.
And it's only by sort of bleaching out the meaning of democracy where it's inclusive of people like Mark Cuban, where white xenophobic nationalism makes sense to people, because they have the benefit of people not knowing what that is. What is a segregationist society? Because I'm surprised at how many people in that room weren't immediately repulsed by the idea that we should just have a white culture. That's segregated baseball. That, nobody actually wants that besides a fraction of freaks that are white nationalists in this country.
Yeah. And I think largely you can do that, but you need to start putting meat on the bones again of what a multiracial, multi-ethnic democracy means. If it doesn't mean redistribution from an unequal society, what's the value of it? You don't get a special cookie because you live in a democracy.
It has to include
You
quality of
actually
life
have to get
improvements.
the cookies.
Yeah, quality of life. Like that's the thing is, anytime we've expanded democracy or people have widely demanded, it's because it comes hand in hand. You don't even need to insist on the quality of life improvement.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.